working on a Toyota 4Runner, 96, third generation, and we're going to be working on replacing some O2 sensors. A couple things you can't see that I'm already wearing are gloves, and I have this light here, but otherwise you're going to need some PB blaster, some or something to loosen nuts, and flathead screwdriver is optional to maybe clean up the nuts that you're going to try to loosen. 2 new oxygen sensors. You want to replace them in in groups according to this repair manual, Haynes repair manual. Safety glasses and some anti-seize. You're going to want some 12mm sockets and a wrench, because the wrench, the upstream sensor, there's 2 sensors, an upstream sensor and a downstream sensor. The upstream sensor, you're going to want the wrench to wrench it easily. The downstream, you can use a socket. There's a little bit more room on the downstream. And you're going to want a code sensor if you're not sure if your vehicle needs a new oxygen sensor, and maybe some rags. And yeah, let's get to it. So if you consult the Googles, you can find out where your sensors are. So for me, my problem child is right here, bank 1, sensor 1. You just look at the exhaust, follow it down. There's the first sensor, and here's your catalytic converter, and your second sensor's right here. Let me get a light on it for you. Loosen them up, take them out. Note, because it is installed in the exhaust manifold or pipe, which contracts when cool, the oxygen sensor may be very difficult to loosen when engine is cold. Rather than risk damage to the sensor, assuming you start and run the engine for a minute or 2, then shut it off. Be careful not to burn yourself during the following procedure. As you can see, my engine has the check engine light. I'm running it right now to heat up the exhaust and to hopefully loosen those nuts so it'll be easy to remove. I got my watch, I'm timing it. 1 minute has passed right now, so I got 1 more minute. And make sure you don't suffocate yourself. Open up a garage if you're inside a garage, or just do this job outside. So that really seemed to do the trick, guys. Don't touch it, don't touch the exhaust, it's hot. But because it's hot, it loosened these up really nicely, see? And I think the PB blaster really helped as well. And for this first sensor, you're gonna wanna use a wrench because the socket is a little bit too big, and you got your transmission. Fast forward like 2 hours, I stripped a nut and went to the store to get myself one of these, which is a bolt extractor. See how it kind of grabs the bolt? This is a 12mm bolt extractor. Came in a kit. I didn't want to wait for an online shipping and all that. Wow, like a charm. And yeah, it didn't even stick to it. That's pretty amazing. I gotta say, that's really, really impressive. And you know what? They're actually not 12mm. I'm sorry. They're and some washers. They're M8s or 5/16 flat washers, and the nuts are torque lock nuts. That's good. M8 1.25. It's metric, so I'm not sure how they rate these things. So I already disconnected the sensor, and you just gotta undo that electrical connection right here, and it's pretty nasty.
Oh, that's nasty.
And I'm putting on the gasket. If there's rough edges, I would put it down towards the exhaust and the smooth part where the sensor goes. Also, it's not a bad idea to have some dielectric grease. This is just a silicone compound you can put on electrical connections. Okay, so this sensor is a little different than the OEM sensor. The OEM didn't have this, but it has anti-seize underneath of it, so I just tightened it a little bit extra than hand tight with a crescent wrench. And I'm going to put an anti-seize on these 2 studs because they don't have any. And I'm just going to use like some brake anti-seize that has the copper based paste. I'm going to put just a little bit on each one and then put my new nuts on. Okay, so this is the downstream oxygen sensor. I've gotten it to fit a 13mm wrench because this thing can slide around on you. It can move from left to right when it's loose, but when you tighten it down, it won't move. But the nuts, that I bought from O'Reilly's happens to be a 13 millimeter. So you want to make sure when you're done with it, you can fit a wrench. So this is my setup. We have the sensor, and then we have a zip tie because the part that I bought, it is the right part. I checked the number. The wire's a bit long, so you don't want it next to any moving parts, like part of your drivetrain, or any hot parts like your exhaust. And here's the front one. I didn't need any zip ties for it. The cable only goes up against the transmission and it's away from the exhaust, so hey, it works. So here's the tools I thought I needed or didn't need or whatever. Made kind of a mess. But, you know, you might need a bolt extractor. You might need some new nuts. And here's the old guys. And yeah, they're pretty old, pretty wasted. So, okay, I'm back in my car and I just erased the codes. So here's the moment of truth, I guess. We're gonna start her up and see if that check engine light goes off. There it is. Okay. It's running fine. Watching the RPMs, hopefully they drop. They are. Sounds alright. And I'm just going to be looking for that check engine light. I don't see it coming back on. Probably could disconnect my scan tool. But hey, there you go. Everything's working all right. Time to go for a test drive, you know. And yeah, so if you guys have any questions, let me know. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. And I think overall this was a success.